when you talk about connecting and buy-in and everybody believing, doesn't happen everywhere.
No. Mm-mm.
It's Vic Fangio over.
No.
In Miami with the Dolphins. All the reports are that Paisan just couldn't connect with his defense. Drew Rosenhaus gave a statement basically during an interview. There was Omar Kelly, who has covered the Miami Dolphins for a very long time, basically said that a topic of discussion for a lot of defensive players in the McDaniel exit interviews were like, yeah, we just don't really like playing for this guy.
Guy sucks.
This just ain't how this is going to go.
Not cool.
There's been alleged situations where Jalen Ramsey has come out and been frustrated with the way he's being used or how it's happening. And seemingly, he's not the only one. So I think he signed a 4-year deal to be the defense coordinator down there. It doesn't make its way into the second year, and now he's with the Eagles. And the Dolphins are allegedly looking at Brandon Staley, who, if you do recall, Jalen Ramsey was playing great football with when Staley was the DC of the Los Angeles Rams. Bubba Gumpino, did we know that this was Vic Fangio over so quickly?
I had a weird feeling this was coming for some reason. I don't know why, but the whole secondary appears to have not liked Vic at all. It was nobody, not Chubb, not anybody who played D-line, linebackers. It was only the secondary who appears to have an issue. I would rather not have Brandon Staley, but let's see what happens.
He was a good DC. That's why he got the head coach. Remember, he's a quarterback who's a DC.
Gains through the eyes of a quarterback.
Boom. So he's the perfect mix. Maybe the head coaching role just wasn't for him.
Maybe Vrabel doesn't get a head coaching gig. Maybe Belichick doesn't get a head coaching gig. You know,
Belichick coming down to Miami to be a DC seems a bit far-fetched. But
let's shoot for the stars. Why not? We were paying Vic Fangio $10 million, so why not?
Okay, so allegedly Staley, I don't know if that's been made official. That's just the internet was kind of placing him there as the new DC. Vic Fangio does end up going to Philly in like a day. Yep. That's like less than 12 hours. AJ, it's pretty wild to see what's taking place. A lot of turnover seemingly happening pretty quickly here around the NFL.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Chuck actually. So Chuck, as a head coach, if you're doing exit interviews and you have multiple players and not guys that are scrapping for time and maybe disgruntled because they're not getting enough time, like you have legit starters coming to you and multiple guys say, hey, they don't like this guy. They don't like how they're being utilized. They don't like the scheme. What do you do? Like, have you ever been in that situation?
Yeah, you have.
You don't have to name names.
To me, AJ, it's like there's some programs that do really, really good that don't foster that kind of stuff. They want to listen to their players, okay, and they want to get idea of whatever, see what's good, what's working. You can have, that leadership group we had.
Council.
And it wasn't, we put that together, and it wasn't what I told them in the beginning, like, this isn't for you guys to come in and bitch and moan and complain about,
I'm not dealing with
the eggs are too runny, stuff like that. Let's talk about the team. Let's talk about what we can do better to win, stuff like that. So on those exit interviews, guys have come in and they speak their mind. You're going to listen to the guys, AJ, that probably deserve, the head coach's ear, the front office, whoever, right? They've earned that. And you're going to try to filter through it. And to me personally, you're going to say, okay, can this be salvaged? Or you hear so much that, and then you
go to the DC right away? Chuck, do you go to that coach right away and be like, hey, I got a lot of guys. I got a handful of guys that are saying this is not what we should be doing.
And this doesn't seem like this had to be going on. And there had to be conversations. Yeah. And my point to coaches and players was, like, they're going to look for a shoulder to cry on. Players will. And if they can't go to their position coach, they're going to go to another guy. And I always told those, if you get a disgruntled employee, right, and he comes to you and he starts bitching about me or he starts bitching about another one, you say, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're talking the wrong dude. This is a conversation for you and your position coach. So go in there man-to-man and shut the door and have that conversation. This isn't for me. They would come into my office, coaches, players, and I would say the same thing. I'd pump the brakes. I said, whoa, have you had a conversation with Vic? Have you sat down man-to-man with Vic and aired these feelings? And if you haven't, then you need to get up out of my office right now and go see him and try to figure it out.
As somebody who almost fist fought a special teams coordinator on practice field, that is certainly an awkward situation, though, potentially going forward. But normally when it gets to this point, everybody kind of feels that way, right? Isn't it like the majority of the people? Don't you think that is kind of like people aren't just speaking up if it's just one or two people? Like I was not going to put myself in the position that I was going to put myself in if I didn't feel like this is how every human feels. I think that has been on display here in the last couple weeks pretty publicly. I think
we had to deal with it.
Yes, exactly.
Firsthand, and you have a conversation. Here's the expectations. Here's how we're going to do business.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not MFing these guys in front of their, we're going to treat them like men. We're going to have grown man conversations, tell them what's doing good, and this ain't good enough right now, and have those closed doors. And that's got to be constant. But then you have a conversation, doesn't get fixed. Then you have another one, doesn't get fixed. Then you have a third, doesn't get fixed. Okay, now it's time we got to do something.
I do wonder how because McDaniel's super pro player down there. Remember, like, hey, we're not risking anybody's injury. We're not doing anything. This high vibes, great coach. I'm not saying he's not a great coach, but he is a very pro player coach. I wonder if it was also maybe other coaches saying, like, hey, this doesn't feel like it's the right fit as well.
They played good.
Yeah.
They were a good freaking defense, and then they lost Phillips, they lost Chubb, they lost some guys. They didn't have Jalen early. Jalen came back right after the knee. He didn't play early. Gets 2 picks in that one game, right, and starts balling. They were a top 5 defense. So
Philly's pumped.
Oh, yeah, jacked up.
Philly is very pumped. We get an Italian in here, okay, and also a known guy. I mean, you got Sirianni, Fangio, and we know exactly what you're getting with Fangio, right? Don't you? Don't you kind of know what you're getting with Vic?
Absolutely.
Everybody? Like Sirianni, the Eagles, even the players, if they do a little research, know exactly
and
what
Vic's he's not a screamer and holler. He's a tactician. He's a big brain guy. He's got his X and O's. He knows what he wants. He teaches it. And he's up front,
Good for Philly. Now, Miami will figure it out. Just wasn't right for them, right, Gump?
Yeah, the Cam Smith they drafted in the second round, cornerback, did not play one single snap this season, and that was he was the first guy to tweet out. He tweeted out just a lock emoji.
Oh, nice.
We got to go back and rewatch Hard Knocks now, the end season.
He wasn't really on it.
Fangio
stuff. Wasn't really on it.
Yeah, but even just the vibes of the defense. Like there was that one scene where McDaniel's running around to everybody talking a whole bunch of junk, and there was one group, and this isn't like a bash towards them, but when he goes over to the DBs, Jalen Ramsey doesn't even turn around to acknowledge
back to him.
Yeah, and that's the head coach. So like that little scene as a vibe feels like that's a problem.
Yeah, so that Philadelphia Eagles situation's hilarious.
Yeah.
You got a millennial, like a lot of love and respect for Mike McDaniel.
Listen to the way he
What
said
was that, Chuck?
And then you got
keep it coming.
Then you got
Whatever it was, keep it coming.
It just might have been
Tony?
oil,
Let it fly,
oil
Chuck.
and gas. You got a 67, 68-year-old school guy, and then you got the guy in
Why'd you say
joggers.
this?
about
Why did you say? Because is Vic taller than him, or that was just age scale?
No age. This is age.
Okay, because it felt
I
like
like whoa.
No.
Yeah.
And he's proven to be a really good coach, but it just might be just like
Shouldn't that be the best staff, though, Chuck, to have the best staff, to have a mixture of, hey, we got some tough, old school, hard-nosed guys mixed in with the younger generation?
I would want that.
In theory.
Smart guys, a lot smarter than me, guys that you can go to as a first-time head coach. Like I was very lucky to have BA, right? A guy that's been around the block, smart as hell, all that stuff, right? Was it knock on the door? Hey, BA, you got a second?
Not scared.
No, you got a second? Go in and close the door and say, hey, look, this is what we got going on. What do you think? If you got a bunch of young guys never been around the block and never done anything, who are you going to go to as the head coach? You're on an island.
And they're scared to death to give you the real opinion, too, Chuck, if they're young guys that just want to hold on to their
And you
kid.
don't want a bunch of guys just to be yes men.
Well, and some guys
AJ?
might not know what the right answer is either, so they might be given an answer that they don't even know if it's the right answer. So having somebody who's been there, done that's good, which is like the Tom Telesco hire for the Raiders for Antonio Pierce. He's obviously been a GM a long time. He was with Bill Polian at the Indianapolis Colts. I think he was with Bill Polian at the Carolina Panthers. He was with Bill Polian at the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, they were a part of building up all 3 of those programs at the time into winning franchises and into those ones that every team is hoping to become. So then when he gets his opportunity with the Chargers, he was there a long time, over a decade.
Yeah.
He was there a long time. Fired mid-season, which I think surprised all of us. Like, damn, firing a GM and a head coach mid-season. And then without even missing a year, he's the head coach within the division, or the GM in the division of the Raiders. And I think you listen to Chuck talk, and you listen to a lot of people around the NFL. The reason why they're saying they think that Davis loved him so much is like experience. Antonio Pierce, although he's a great player and is shown to be a great coach, there's going to be shit that's going to pop up. There's going to be stuff that's going to pop up, and having somebody that's been in that chair, that's been there, done that, is a good play. And then you look over at the Carolina Panthers, okay? Dan Morgan, who I'm just learning about, I love him. I love.
He's the man. He's awesome.
Okay, from what I've heard, I love him. Never been a GM before. Canales, never been head coach before. He's an author, though, deep thinker. They're both very deep thinkers. We assume that they'll have success because we like to bestow optimism onto every situation. But it's like, yet again, Tepper's in a situation where, but he tried Frank Reich, I guess is what he was thinking. I tried experience before. It didn't work. Now I'm going brand new. I guess we never know. We have no idea if any of these hires are good right now. Schefter put out a tweet kind of updating the entire situation around the NFL. The Commanders do not have a head coach, but everybody's thinking that's Ben Johnson. Everybody's thinking the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson's going to go over there. Bobby Slowick, offense coordinator for the Texans name, has been linked to the Commanders, but as of right now, no hiring. Seahawks, they have Dan Quinn in there for a second in-person interview. Obviously, he had great success with the Seahawks whenever he was the leader of the Legion of Boom back in the day. Atlanta Falcons have interviewed Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, Vrabel, Raheem Morris,
Slowick.
Bobby Slowick. They've tried everybody out. Everybody thought they were potentially going the Belichick route. Now that it's a wide open case, Schefter says, after interviewing Bill Belichick, you would assume maybe they are thinking about very much moving on from Belichick, and one of these other dudes potentially as an option. Chargers, Raiders, Patriots, Titans, Panthers, Don. 3 still left at the moment. AJ, any of those super surprising to you? Any of those a thought of what you think will get finished next? What are your thoughts on this situation of the current hiring cycle?
I mean, I would imagine the Falcons it might be next, or the Seahawks if they do officially sign Dan Quinn. Did Belichick do a second interview with the Falcons? Do we know?
Yes. Yep.
So he did a second interview. They let him out of the place when they knew he wasn't getting courted by a bunch of other teams. Like, yeah, that shows that they're not dead serious about signing him, at least right now. I mean, they still could end up doing it, but yeah, I wonder how those interviews go. I really do. Like, what does he want to make sure is in place if he's there? Man, I wish they filmed these things. We got to watch some of them.
So Vrabel's interviewing there today, I believe.
Yep.
And then he had a flight to the Panthers allegedly scheduled, but that's obviously gone now because Canales gets a head coaching job. So if you think about Belichick, Harbaugh, and Vrabel, it's like Arthur Blank is seemingly trying to bestow,
for sure,
a little bit of a hard-nosed type culture in there at the head coaching position. What do you think? And what's fugazi and what's not fugazi?
It's an appealing job too. We talked about the talent on that Atlanta team. Got a good. You need a quarterback, probably.
8th pick in the draft.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, but I don't know what their cap deal is. I don't know if they have capital to move up, with that 8th pick to try to get something higher to get into money for trying to get up Drake May or Caleb. I don't think they can go that far. But
Jaden Daniels
but they've got players.
Passed Drake May on the most recent Mel Kiper mock draft.
That's right.
He's 2 now, huh?
Yeah, well, Herb Street said that to Army-Navy game whenever we were up there doing the show. He said Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels, the Patriots thought there was a chance
I was praying
that you'd be able to get him maybe with the second pick you have in the first draft in the teens or whatever, because nobody's really talking about him as an NFL prospect. He would obviously go on to win the Heisman, and then people like Kirk Herbstreit would come out and say, once they talk to this guy and once they get to know him and learn his story and watch his film, Jaden Daniels is going to skyrocket in the NFL conversation. That's happened before the even interview process started with Jaden Daniels. Good for him. Drake May, obviously, still up in the conversation. He didn't win a lot of games.
That's all right. What do you mean? I mean, how many games did he start, though? I think that's a huge deal. How many games he actually played?
Played a lot of football. A lot of football.
Which I think we're finding out, nothing is 100%, nothing's concrete, but that does help you, I think, when you have a bunch of reps already under your belt by the time you get to the league, at the quarterback position especially.
Another thing that NFL people will like, or certain NFL people will like, he was offered like $5 million or something to go play somewhere else. And he said, nah, I'm staying in North Carolina. Yeah. I love staying here. That says a lot about him. Older brother's very competitive, loves ball, loves competing. He's huge.
Huge.
He is huge. I got a chance to see him. That's like Aiden Hutchinson. When I saw Aiden Hutchinson, you forget. What a specimen this thing is.
Monster.
Holy shit. When I met Drake May, it was the same thing. I'm like, why am I looking up at I didn't think I was going to be.
He's like
How tall is he?
Like 6'6".
He's
right?
6'4", 230.
He's like one of the. He's like the
Wentz,
Manning.
like
I remember we played the
Carson
Colts. I
Wentz
saw
size?
Peyton.
Yes, and he's big. Like his presence is big. Good basketball player, obviously. His older brother's good. Good golfer. Good football player, obviously. They say his football IQ.
Yeah, quarterback coach.
So, like if he goes to Bama or if he goes to some other school that was thinking Ohio State, if Drake May was the quarterback, good call, Connor. If Drake May was the quarterback of Ohio State this past year.
First overall.
Yeah. I think so. They're probably winning the entire thing.
Yeah.
But Caleb Williams, obviously, people are saying once in a generation. And when you watch him play college ball, he's electrifying. Will he be able to play that same style in the NFL? That's the only question.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to see. If he can, he's going to be phenomenal. If he can't, it's like, all right, it was awesome in college. I think he will be able. I would like you on the record to say, I think he will be able to. But whenever you're watching these D lines on Sunday and these outside linebackers, and then you watch the college ones, like granted, they'll play against 2 to 3 guys a year that are going to end up in the NFL that are outside linebackers and D linemen and everything like that. The NFL is the all-star game of every generation before you. And the slow, try hard, good sound, they fade out.
Not around.
And you know who's still in there? 4-2, 4-3, 4-4.
Yep.
A lot of his game is extending and shaking, and I think he will be. This is me saying I think he will be able to do this in the NFL. But if he can't, we're going to have to learn a lot about deciphering a defense and can he make every throw inside the pocket. Like, that's the whole question.